Hi, and welcome to Gloria Deo Academy, raising lifelong worshipers, lifelong learners, and lifelong servants. Today, I wanted to talk about that awkward conversation when it's re-enrollment period. And when it comes to re-enrollment, there's a whole lot involved when you consider the sacrifice that you make as a family when choosing education for your kids and the future that you hope for them. And it's not really a conversation I can have by myself. And so I thought, every time a family has this time of year approach, it's husband and wife. And so I was lucky enough to get my husband to come on, and we're going to have that awkward conversation about re-enrollment time. So Kyle's here with me, and you want to say hi?
Hi, everybody.
And we every year, some years are better than others, but sometimes that tuition statement comes out and there's a little bit of sticker shock, especially as we continue to add more kids to enrollment. And just what are some things that you think about as the leader of our family when it comes to overall cost when choosing an education?
I think in general, the things that I like to look at are just, number one, the burden it places on the family is the first thing that everybody has to look at, right? I mean, you can't avoid that. So I think overall, you have to really sit back and see, based off of what I am paying for this, how does that impact our family financially overall? I think along with that, though, there is a big you really have to weigh the concept of what are you actually getting out of what you're investing in, because I think that's really what this is, right? It is an investment in your children and in their future. So it's not just as simple as saying, well, it cost me X, and maybe I don't want to pay X anymore. I think you really have to take some time to look at what am I getting for that. So I think for us, or at least for me, I always want to sit back and kind of just compare, based off of what it's costing our family, really, how is this preparing my children for the future? And long term, where is this actually going to get my children, and what is it going to set them up for?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the moment, sometimes we hit this month of the year and things they feel a little panicky or scary, but once we give it some time and we come back together and really consider what we want and desire long term for our kids. Like what is it that we want for them when we picture them graduating or as young adults and being out in the world. And so, can we talk about that a little bit? Like when you and I have those discussions, what is it that we like envision and picture for them?
Yeah, I think first off, it's I think in 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 order to be successful in anything at life, you really have to have the ability to learn continuously. Right. So I think, setting up a foundation for your children that gives them the ability to be, lifelong learners. And as they encounter new situations in life, to be equipped with the skills to be able to evaluate, where maybe their shortcomings are in those situations, and be able to take the time to go learn what it is that they need to in order to be successful in the situations that life presents them with. So I think for me, as I look at this, it's one of the most important things is really, am I giving my children a foundation that they are going to be, lifelong learners, and are they going to be equipped with the skills to
Really navigate knowledge.
exactly to really navigate, and essentially understand what it is that they need to learn in new situations to be successful.
Yeah. And I definitely think there's a difference, right? Like obviously we're not going to be exactly the same on what we want and picture for our kids, but you being in business and as the provider out in the world and just interacting in business settings, you're a lot more focused and aware of some of those skills that they're going to need, that they're getting through a higher level academic curriculum. And then me being in the home and just getting to pour into our kids on home days, and them not being in school 5 days a week, I tend to really work like I tend to really focus on who who they're going to be as far as like do they know their value and worth in terms of Christ and knowing that they're going to be confident in who they are when they go out into the world, but also how are they going to see themselves and how are they going to see other people? Are they going to see others the way God sees them? And and how are they going to love others well in that sense, and how they relate to people and serve others. So that's something that I think about too. And so then when we have this idea of, when we know, okay, this is kind of what we're wanting for our children, that they can navigate knowledge well, they have, they've been provided with that higher sort of superior curriculum education to do that, and to pursue whatever career or knowledge path they want, but that they also will see themselves and see others the way that Christ sees them. And when we step back and look, okay, well, then what are our available options? What is going to give us that, the best route to that? Without fail, year over year, it's always Gloria Deo Academy. It always brings us back to that. And so, um, yeah. So, what is some of those things about Gloria? Like, why is it that we always come back to Gloria Deo Academy and not another option?
I mean, I think without fail, it really the community has been a really big thing. I mean, I think I see just in general the way that our children interact with their peers. I think that has been a huge thing for me. I mean, it's really amazing. I think it's really great to see, that number one, the children seem they all know each other, right? Which I think is fantastic. They're not just
Like,
really
even across grade levels,
exactly.
not
They're not
the
just kind of locked
yeah.
into just knowing a few kids in their class and in one specific grade, but they
Mhm.
get the chance to interact, across different grade levels, which I think really builds, you know,
Life skills
really
too.
well-rounded social skills. Yeah, absolutely. I think number 2, though, when I see the relationships that they've been able to build with each other, there is a lot of legitimate love and respect, amongst one another, and I think
Your
that just
friendship.
kinda yeah, and that kinda comes back to just overall, the principles and kind of the main tenets of the school is you you really know that you're going to be with other families that are in a lot of the same walk that you are, that share the same, faith, that share the same values, that have a lot of the same moral compass, as you do. So I think it's
Yeah. I was gonna say, I definitely know that I've grown over the years. So this will be our 6th year, next fall, and that has grown to be so valuable to me as well for our family, knowing that we're in community with like-minded families that are that are intentionally parenting along those same paths, that we have this opportunity to really invest in our children on home days, or even to support them in sports and those upper grades at GDA, whatever their path is. Um, it's become something very important to me that I don't think you find everywhere. And I also know that, like, our school, the leaders do a great job protecting the integrity and that sense of the school's community as well.
absolutely, and I mean, I think that's what, growing up, especially in this area, years ago, it reminds me a lot more of, I think, what everybody expects, from that, smaller town community, but
Field,
exactly.
yeah.
But at the same time, you're gaining all of the community aspect of it, but you're not compromising the education, right?
Yeah,
And I
that
think that
biblical worldview is there as part of their education, and I've seen that stand out in our kids too. Even just when they interact with other kids from other social circles, not from Gloria Deo, they just sort of they notice, people notice them. They stand out because of their understanding of the gospel, their understanding
yeah,
of even just biblical history, and um and as a former educator, having taught high school seniors in the public school system, that was always I think one of the first things that drew us to GDA, though, was their curriculum and the academics, and being so pleased and so happy. And I'd even like to do a better job of showing families, from the grammar school where that's going, in logic school and writer school, to really appreciate what we're building on in those younger years and where it's going. And I'm looking forward to, I'm even excited about that,
yeah.
you know,
Well, and
that
if I can jump
curriculum.
in there, I mean, I think it's easy to say, especially as we kind of evaluate why do we keep coming back. I mean, at the end of the day, there is no shortage of private schools in the area, right?
Yeah.
And there is no shortage of what I would call, Christian private schools in the area. I think the difference is once you really start diving into what each of those schools really offers. I, some seem to really kind of balance the scales more heavily on one side than maybe the other. And, every year as we overall kind of evaluate, like, what does this bring to our
What's best?
family? How is our yeah, how are our children growing and learning? I think Gloria Deo really seems to balance, across the board the best amongst all of them.
Kind of the best of all parts. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. All right, everyone. Well, I think that about covers it for today. Thanks, babe, for being on here with me.
Appreciate you.
And as always, just so everyone knows, you are always welcome to reach out to our business manager, Francesca Tovar, and ask her questions. We've always had nothing but constructive, productive conversations with admin at school or anytime we had any concerns, and that's been pretty few and far between, but they're always ready to be open and problem solving and just help our families and our community any way they can. So if you ever do have a concern, definitely reach out to the business manager or whoever on the admin team you're most comfortable with, and they will be happy to sit down and talk things through with you. Thanks, everyone. Hope you guys have a wonderful week.